will introduce Mr. Ng right now. Actually, let's begin at the beginning, right? So thank you guys for joining us today. Today we will have a guest speaker as Mr. Ng. He's a board director of Belle Corporation and concurrently a director of Highlands Prime, a business that tries to create projects for leisure and tourism. And he's also a social entrepreneur. Mr. Ng has developed a project along with his people to provide homes for the homeless or making the homeless comfortable in their words. So thank you for joining us today, Mr. Ng. He will be talking about working as a social entrepreneur, and he will be talking about his experience, learnings, and those kind of things. So thank you very much.
Hello, everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are. It's good evening here in the Philippines. That's where I'm coming from. And I wish everybody to be well and safe, and happy Easter. So to get on with my presentation, I will have some slides to show you. All right. So I've entitled my slide, my presentation, as you can see, is Making the Choice for Social Business. So I hope to be able to discuss with you what social business is, and it's something that perhaps most of you, all of you, could consider in your future careers or in your current careers, wherever you are. So all right. So this is just wanted to share with you this song, but I can't play it, unfortunately. I don't know how to play a music over the Zoom, but there is a music, and maybe I could just share it with you through a link later on. And the title of the song is Tagumpay na Nagniningning, or in English, it's called Shining Success. It's a song that I actually wrote and produced. I didn't sing it, but I did produce the song, and it's more like an anthem for our Joy Nostalgia homeowners or beneficiaries, because it's like a tribute to them in being able to triumph in their journey, in their challenge of owning their own home. Because in the Philippines, owning one's home is actually very, very difficult. It is not as very simple, it's not very easy as probably it would be in the countries you are in right now. And so this is a song that we picked up, we produced for them to inspire them. Incidentally, this title is taken from a line from our national anthem. So if you just research on the lyrics, excuse me, of our national anthem, you will actually see this line, Tagumpay na Nagniningning. And by the way, just in case you want to know the Filipino nickname of Ania, it's Ning Ning. So, which is the last two syllables of the last word, Nagniningning. So there you go. So just a bit of a trivia. So hello, my name is Jacinto Ng Jr. As you have been introduced. As I have been introduced, I'm 52. I'm married to my wife named Rachel. I have 4 children: Jakey, 25, Joey, 23, Josh, 17, and the world's famous Ania, 15. I studied in Xavier School. It's a Jesuit school. Finished in 1986, and I finished architecture in the University of the Philippines. It's a state university here in 1991. As a kid, I really enjoyed drawing houses, and that inspired me to take up architecture, especially when, excuse me, when I experienced my father's housing development way back in 1985, and I think I was just 15 at that time. And uh, at that time, I looked up at my father, but at the same time, I really liked the houses and I really liked drawing. And you know, actually, I wasn't so good at drawing. The only drawings that I can make are straight lines, triangles, and squares. So guess what? Houses are triangles and squares, and which is why I felt that it's something I could excel in. So that's what I decided to do. I took up architecture, and I studied business on my own through with lessons from my father, of course, and attending and reading books left and right. So uh, and that's what it is. No, so I decided to take up architecture, and now in college, and I figured that I'll just learn business from my father since he was a businessman. So um, this page I'd like to talk about is our company, and architecture is a specific technical competence that I need to learn formally in school, while business is something of general management. I would have hoped to take this up, to have taken this up in school as well, but um, I felt that I just had to work immediately right after taking my first degree. So I originally thought I was going to take up masters, but then that didn't pan out. Instead, I took a masteral course in marriage, and uh, okay, so I got and of course started my family, and so just relied on my father, my books, and seminars and summer jobs to understand business. I worked in Taiwan after college, and worked in a development company and architectural firms. And in fact, I was fortunate enough to be working with both the architectural firm and the development company that was responsible for Taipei 101. Taipei 101 was before the tower in Dubai was the tallest building in the world, and that was quite exciting at the time. I was able to see the beginnings of that project, and uh, from that time on, after Taiwan, I came back, and that's when I started working formally with my father's partnership company. It's a partnership together with some foreign investors, and it was into real estate and housing development. Um, if I was to characterize myself, basically it follows the. I strictly try to live by our core values. It's a core values that I have personally, but at the same time, it's a core values that I have instituted in our company, and it has the acronym Christ should, but it really stands for commitment, happiness, responsibility, integrity, simplicity, tenacity, unity, dynamism, and excellence, and Christ should itself being a value. All right, so this is our company name, Joy Nostalgia Group, and that's our mission statement. Yeah, I decided to have a 7-word mission statement. That way, it's much easier to remember. And it's moments of happiness for memories of hope. Basically, what we do is that we try to make sure that every little thing that we get to do is something for the happiness of the stakeholders that we serve, and the standard of that happiness is so much is such that it would be memorable. It would be memorable for our beneficiaries and stakeholders to be able to hope for it from time to time and time and again. So the Joy Nostalgia Group started in 2007. We started out with a Joy Nostalgia Hotel and Suites in Manila. So if any of you would travel here in the Philippines, we welcome you, and you could definitely stay with us in our hotel. We also have our office, corporate office building. It's called the Joy Nostalgia Center. And we also have a Chinese restaurant, actually. It's called the Empress Dining Palace. Apart from that, we are into the resort and energy. I have also invested in IT as well as with a hospital that hopefully will come up in the next 3 years, and even went into film. In 2013, I started out the housing development business in our group. And we started out with Elan Vital Enclaves, which is catering to middle housing. Maybe I'll explain that a little bit later. We have another company called Every Homes Enclave for economic housing, Extraordinary Enclaves for socialized, and we actually have established a nonprofit uh, social development foundation. It's called the Joy Nostalgia Foundation. So um, well, I wanted to talk to you about social business, and I guess I would want to first try to explain the difference. Business is essentially, I would imagine, business is exactly what everybody here knows, right? It's really you purchase, you process. It's the purchase, processing of and selling of products and services to customers for a profit, and it's pretty straightforward, right? Social business is actually still the same. It's still business, but it has a higher degree of relevance as it solves a social problem in society. At least that's how I would define social business. So you have everything on how a business would work. You have marketing, you have sales, you have operations, finance, accounting, what have you, IT, HR, procurement, everything. You have all these different functions, and in the company, you the and it could be doing whatsoever different types of products and services. But the only difference between a typical business and that of a social business is that there is a purpose of solving a social problem, rather than just a very simple product benefit. So social problems, what are these? Well, social problems could be cultural discrimination. You've probably heard of fake news by now. It's very prevalent. It's a huge global problem. Of course, we have natural disasters. The Philippines being a country that is probably most prone to natural disasters. I think it ranks number one, if in the top 10 in the world. Poverty, of course, is a huge social problem. This is something that is really a big problem here in the Philippines. Environment is something that is concerning the entire planet. Health, of course, with COVID-19, that is the biggest problem that the world is facing altogether this day. And of course, you have unemployment, corruption, the lack of education, and of course, homelessness. In fact, I don't know with you guys, but in the Philippines, we seem to have all of these that I have just mentioned. And so social business, in my opinion, is very, very relevant here in the Philippines. And we think that it is a good solution to address all these problems. And hence, I encourage everyone that I speak to, especially businessmen, to try to convert and transform their business into a social business. And so in terms of our company, the Joy Nostalgia Group, we mission ourselves to pursue social housing. And this is to address homelessness. You know, in our country, in the Philippines right now, we have actually some 6 to 7 million homeless families. And obviously this is a this contributes a large part to the continuing poverty being experienced by a great majority. Just to let you know, 6 to 7 million is equivalent to around 24 to 30 million people. 30 million people is about 30% right now of our 25% of our current population. So can you imagine that 1 in 4 persons in the Philippines are without a house, a home of their own? Unfortunately, this problem will exacerbate because there is a projection that in 2030, which is some 9 years from now, this number of 6, 7 million will actually go up to 12 million. By that time, that would be around 40% of the population. So it's actually a growing problem. It's a growing crisis. And this is what we mission ourselves in Joy Nostalgia to do, to attempt to try to solve and address homelessness, at least to be able to do our share and to inspire others to do the same.
Mr. Nat, I have
Yes,
a question. Do you know how many people do you already help it?
I beg your pardon.
Do you know the number on how many people do you already help it?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I think I have a slide there that I will show you.
Okay, okay. No, I can wait. No worries.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that question of yours is a good question that will show you some of the. Now I want to show you what our houses look like. So this is actually an actual development. As you can see, all those houses, different colors. This is what we call economic housing. Um, Economic housing basically is, so earlier I mentioned middle housing. So essentially that caters to the middle income market. Economic housing caters to the to what we call the higher bracket of the low income market. And later on, we have socialized housing, which caters to the lower end of the low income market. To make it easier for you, in the Philippines, if you go to an office, a manager would typically be in the middle income market. A person staying in the economic housing like this, the picture that you show, typically would be, let's say, a senior person, like I don't know if you're familiar with the term, like a foreman in a factory setting. For example, if you have a factory, the guy who sort of heads the factory workers, like the small chief of factory workers, that we normally call them foremen or supervisors. They would be typically the ones who would uh, have enough income to afford these kinds of houses. So these kinds of houses are slightly larger than the lowest that we have, which is the smallest that we have, which is the socialized housing. Now, for socialized housing, that caters to the low income market, which is essentially the lowest income earners in the country. And just to give you an idea, this would probably be the general factory workers that we typically have. And these are people who probably are earning only about 15,000 pesos. So gee whiz, in dollars, that would probably be what, some like maybe $300 a month, thereabouts. So that's just to give you an idea of the kind of persons or people who would be staying in this kind of houses. So in this case, this is for the economic. So this is called Taxible Village. So this is another close up. I hope you like the houses, because if you like them, then I designed it. If you don't like them, then somebody else did it. So this is Taxible Village. So this is actually a duplex. If you can look at it closely, it's actually two houses that were joined in the center. So yes, so uh, these are those houses. And this is now the socialized housing, and this is an aerial shot of, and we call this Pasinaya homes. So these numbers can probably give you an idea of how many houses we've been building since 2017. 2017. So we'll have some close-up shots. We'll see if we can get you closer. So there you go. So this is a street level picture. This is to show you the houses. Notice now that the houses are all joined. So this is called a townhomes or a row house. Essentially, all the houses are joined together side by side. And it's a two-story house. And later on, I will show you a newer version wherein it's a full two-story house, wherein the house is a bit taller, higher, and more roomier. So this is the houses that we have. As you can see, our logo, Pasinaya Homes, comes from the fact that we actually do color our houses, colorfully. And just to let you know, Pasinaya is a Filipino word that means new beginning, so or an inauguration. So it's really a fitting name for a lot of our beneficiaries, because this would be a new beginning for a great new beginning for their families, having their own homes of their own. Well, on the other hand, here is called it's a Filipino word that means grow. So to further grow. So if you recall, that market is already slightly is a slightly a higher income earner than the lower wage minimum wage earner, and so the name is meant to encourage our beneficiaries to continue growing. Here, it's like we're celebrating the new beginning for our beneficiaries. Yeah. So next picture. So this is just another picture that shows how it looks like all together in one single row. And this is a current shot for this year, 2021. So I just want to make sure that you get an update of our houses. These are all different projects. So these are not pictures of the same project. These are different houses located in different locations. And so we have the same designs, but differently located. So this is one of them in Cavite. And then another one. So this one is, here's another one. This is the new one, that the new model that we have. It's full two-story. So I don't know if you noticed, but the second floor is much higher than it was earlier. And it is a little bit more colorful now than earlier as well. And so this gives you a street level view of how it feels if you're standing there on the road. So these are the houses that we have in Pasinaya. All right. So I hope you appreciated those pictures. Then I can go into a little bit detail. So I hope you follow the slide that I have here. So as I mentioned earlier, economic housing is slightly higher. It ranges anywhere from 700,000 to 1.3 million pesos per house. So let me see. The exchange rate is around 50 pesos to $1. So I'm not very good with mathematics here, but let me see. So if we were just to use if we were just to use 1 million, a typical economic house would be $20,000 US. Is that cheap? I don't know. Socialized is anywhere from 450 to 580,000, or around $10,000 US. That is much cheaper, I hope. And this is the answer to your question. Since then until now, we have actually provided some 22. We have already built 22,853 houses in the span of around 4 years, and catering to about 20,000 families or 45,000 people homeless Filipinos that are now very much homeful. So it's a word that we created. The opposite of being homeless is to be homeful, but it's a created word. You won't find it in the dictionary except on ours. All right. Uh, Something that is a little bit unique on our business is that if you look at the fifth bullet point, uh, well, in the fourth bullet point, what we're trying to say is that in actually we are selling the houses below the actual value of the houses. So a lot of these people would buy their houses via taking out a mortgage loan, a housing mortgage loan, and so the creditor institution or the bank that they borrowed the money from would first have to value how much the house is, and then would normally give a loan that is lower than the value. This is to sort of protect them um, from any losses that may come up if somebody does not decide to pay. Um, and in our case, we are actually selling our houses much lower than the actual value. So if you look at the fifth bullet point, our economic housing is actually valued at 777,000, but we're actually selling it only for 700,000. Our socialized housing at one time was valued at 630,000, but we're only selling it at 450,000. What does this mean? This means that as far as our homeowners is concerned, on day one, just by setting their foot into their homes, suddenly they are quote unquote richer by 77,000 for economic and even 180,000 by socialized housing. You know, it's your typical accounting. Your asset value is 770,000 or 630,000, but then you only have a liability of 700,000 or 450, and so therefore the difference is in the equity, 77 and 180. And whose equity is this? This belongs to them, not to us. So that's the beauty. So if you're going to look at it on paper, they have become richer almost instantaneously. And so therefore, that is what we do. At Joy Nostalge, we make the homeless homeful. And in the process, we are creating wealth for the poor. And more importantly, and this is where I feel most fulfilled, is that we actually restore the dignity of the poor. You cannot, it is very difficult. Even I have been dealing and meeting and talking with our customers, and yet, truth be told, it is almost impossible for me to fathom how much indignity that they have suffered when they were homeless, when they were poor. The conditions were very terrible, wherein they have to share, two, three homeless families will have to share will one small tiny space where that entire space is the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen, the dining room, the study room, and how two to three families, maybe a total of 12, 15 people will have to share one single toilet. And on top of that is to pay a relatively difficult high rental amount. So just to give you an idea, typically people would be renting a small space for 4,000 pesos. In our case, excuse me, in our case, um, with respect to the socialized housing, that 450,000, they have the repayment to the bank is only 2,500 pesos a month. So think about that. Instead of paying rent for 4,000 pesos, they're actually just paying their monthly amortizations at 2,500. That means that every month that they actually pay for their monthly amortization, they are saving up and getting richer by 1,500 pesos a month. So it's a really a good win-win situation for them, and a great deal of their dignity is really restored. You know, for a family to have their own home, their own privacy, excuse me, their own uh, their own living room, their own kitchen, their own bedroom. It matters a lot. And in fact, in these days, uh, in this time of the COVID-19, uh, housing all the more is very, very important in the Philippines, because if you have people jam-packed, 2 to 3 different families jam-packed in one tiny space, of course it is very difficult to maintain the right distancing. And so therefore, unfortunately, Philippines has one of the highest infection rates, precisely because a lot of people are communing in very, very tight places. So somebody who gets infected can easily transmit the virus to other people. So that's a very unfortunate situation in the Philippines, and I'm quite I'm quite encouraged that our housing developments are actually addressing uh, this particular issue as well. In 2021, what is our intention? Well, we are ramping up each year. We seem to be doing better each year. We're increasing our capacities. We're getting better at building houses. And so this year we are aiming to do as much as 15,000 houses. So if you're going to look at it, we are going to sort of match, almost match what we have done in 4 years in 1 year, or maybe what we have done in 3 years. We intend to do it in just 1 year, in this year, despite the fact that we are still very much in the thick of a pandemic.
Mr. Nang, do you
Yeah,
mind if I ask you some questions? Because
sure.
my question list is getting really long here. um, so first, let me just thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. This is such a privilege, and I hope that the students out there listening to you are really appreciating the opportunity to listen to somebody who has learned how to do this and is executing it in a way that's impactful for the country of the Philippines. So, I mean, as you know, and for those of you guys out there in Zoom world, I'm also from the Philippine Islands. I immigrated to the United States when I was 10. So for me, this comes very close to my heart. And by the way, I also studied, I have a secondary degree where I was studying social entrepreneurship, and my degree research was poverty alleviation strategies for women through social entrepreneurship. And I actually did my studies in India and in Latin America. So what you're doing is really amazing. So my
Thank you.
question to you is, so I live in Miami, and in South Florida, majority of the new housing communities are, like you said, planned communities that, you know, have a like a pattern to them. And then these communities are kind of closed and gated, right? And then inside those communities, they have what we call homeowners associations. And those homeowners associations are really strict. Like, you have to have your grass cut. You can't paint your house a different color. You have to have so much vegetation. You can only have 2 cars in front of your house. You can only have so many people living in your house based on the number of bedrooms that you have in your house. So is there some kind of guidelines that you follow that way to maintain the value and I guess the I don't know how you call it without being offensive to people, but you know how you said initially that, you know, people would rent like a 2-bedroom house and there would be like 20 people living in there, you know, which is
Yeah.
pretty typical for underdeveloped countries. Do you have guidelines that limits the number of people that lives in your house per number of bedrooms? Do you also
Yes.
have
Yes.
criteria in like how they're going to maintain the property, and then is there a homeowners association program that actually executes that?
Yes, yes. Here in the Philippines, it's actually required by law that any of these communities developed by a developer must have a homeowners association. And so we formed that. And yes, there is a homeowners association that oversees all the entire development, especially the common facilities such as the roads, the roads, the electric lights, the electric light posts. We actually have this is actually a gated community, and
Oh,
so we have security. We have security guards that protects and secures the entire place. Uh, we have basketball courts. We have parks, and so yes, as a homeowners association, they have to contribute a small amount of money every month, depending on the size of their house, and that goes into a common fund that pays for the maintenance of the place to make it constantly, in order. And yes, you're right, so that the value of the property is maintained, if not even enhanced. Security, and yes, there are rules. One of the more important rules, for example, is that there will be zero tolerance with respect to drugs. There will be zero tolerance, for example, with respect to crime, and things like this. And these rules, in truth, apart from just the house, you're right in being able to identify this homeowners association, because apart from just the house, they have also with them the benefit of having a certain order, which otherwise outside was kind of chaotic in a way. Um, wherein the rules the rules of the street govern. Here
Right.
you have a very honest to goodness self-governance by the community.
Right, right. And it's interesting that you say that because that's an indirect outcome of your social entrepreneurship initiative, right? To
Yeah.
create an environment where children grow up in a crime-free, drug-free environment. I mean,
Yeah.
your product is housing, but your outcome is that social benefit. In the same way
Yeah.
that Kiva, I don't know if you know about Kiva, which is the one that won the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize with Dr. Muhammad Yunus. He got the Nobel Peace Prize because he elevated, and Kiva, the bank, elevated something like 2 million people out of poverty, which is his goal, and I'm
Right,
speaking
right.
that with you. And one of the requirements for the communities or the families was that all the children had to have a certain percentage of caloric intake a day. And the
Right.
indirect outcome was that these people who would get loans from Kiva would then raise healthy children. Oh, and they had to go to school. And that was the other rule was
Yeah.
we give you this loan, your kids have to eat this much calories and they have to go to school.
Yes.
So that's the piece that I think is really beneficial. And I have one
Yeah.
more question, so we don't, lose too much of your time. So what's your demand right now for your housing? And the second part of this is that how many employees do you have hired for this specific project? And are you actually hiring people who live in these communities? So I guess
Well,
that's the first part. Demand, how many employees, and are you actually hiring them from these communities?
well, the demand is huge. As I said, we have around 6 to 7 million who requires housing, and I think easily around, if I'm not mistaken, easily some 3 to 4 million are right here in the center of the Philippines, in the NCR capital region, in the national capital region where Metro Manila is, and the surrounding spots.
Mhm.
So much so that, truth be told, is that our business is actually limited by how many houses we can build, not how many houses we can sell. Because whatever houses we produce, there will always be there is actually a line waiting to buy our houses. In fact, the biggest irony is that despite the fact that last year was the worst year of the Philippines since World War II, and maybe the same for a lot of countries, we actually achieved our highest sales last year. And wait. And so right now our challenge is to think of different ways and efficiencies and make use of technology that will make us be able to build houses much faster. Every month, each month, we could easily sell 400 units a month.
Wow.
But we cannot build 400 houses in a month. It takes a longer time. So in fact, this year we've decided to change our strategy wherein we'll build the houses first, then we sell it. Otherwise, it's creating a long line, and you know, it sounds flattering for the business, but it's not also such good thing for people to wait in line. So what we're doing right now is we're actually, believe it or not, we probably are the only company in the world during the pandemic that is deciding to stop selling first. Just when every company needs revenue, we're saying, hold on, let's stop selling first. Let's first build all the houses, then sell them afterwards.
Right.
So that's where we are right now. So are we hiring?
Yeah.
The answer to that question is, well, right now, we started out in 2020, in January 2020, we started out to be somewhere at around 500 people in our company. Today, we are already at 700. So that means that, you know, in the thick of the pandemic, we were actually hiring people. So, you know, it's a fantastic story. Not only, it's good that you raised this question, because now, not only are you hearing, not only do you get to see the benefit of, you know, homeless people getting their own homes, but you're also, you're hearing the other side of the story wherein people without jobs are having jobs. We are at the same time creating jobs.
Yes.
For people. And to your point, we have actually, you know, one of the things that we did apart from the homeowners association is that we actually set up we set up a community cooperative as well. And the community cooperative is meant for them to be able to be, you know, entrepreneurial for themselves. So as not to rely just on their current employment, especially now it's working because some of them have actually lost their jobs. But at least they have a backup because they have invested in a cooperative within their community.
Right.
And one of the things that we've actually done with the community, with the cooperative, is actually partnered with a technical vocational school, and actually trained some of our residents, retrain them and learn construction skills.
Right.
And then guaranteed their employment with our construction companies. So it's like a win-win. So we tell the construction companies that we work with, that we sign contracts with, we say, look, we're going to sign a contract with you, but can we add, can we ask a favor that you employ some of these homeowners who are actually certified from a technical school. So it's a win-win situation. So if you look at it,
and
it's fantastic. The impact is very big.
Exactly. The economic impact is, you know, like it's significantly roll balling, you know, and then what I also can envision is the private entrepreneurships that could be generated from those groups. Like, for example, maintenance people or plumbers or electricians, that once you sell the house and they're out of warranty, that they have people who have businesses living in those communities that could actually service the infrastructure.
That's right.
Excellent. Okay, so I guess I'm going to disappear so you can continue on.
Well, this is a picture in your screen. This is a picture to show you how we were awarding our first homeowner in 2017. And of course, not our keys are not that big, but it's it's a symbolism, that we are turning over the key to them. And in fact, this picture is quite significant because if you can see me, I'm at the right hand. I am at the rightmost. Yes, I am that big. And beside me is actually the governor of the province. And then next to him is the official, is the creditor official that lent the money for the housing. And then next to him, where the cursor is, he is actually the mayor of the place that we're in. And then the couple in the middle that's holding the key, they are the first homeowner that we awarded. The one to his the one wearing blue next, he is actually the congressman in the district that we are in. And the next two couples are they are proudly my parents, my father and my mother. And at the one at the leftmost is our president for our foundation, our Joy Nostalgia Foundation. So if you can see, it's a multilateral effort to have somebody, to home somebody. It's a joint cooperation with so many groups to make this thing happen. All right. So here, I'd just like to share with you that our business model has actually been proven to be viable and in fact sustainable, because in 2020, last year, we were actually awarded by, if you can see this logo on the right-hand corner, the lower right-hand corner, that's Pag-ibig. That's the name of the creditor bank. It's a government-run agency, and we were ranked #1 in their list of developers nationwide. So Joy Nostalgia is our group company, but the specific company that we use is this one that you get to see in front of you, Raymulan Lands. And so the people that you get to see in the picture, they are part of our management team. So just in case you're all interested to find out what does the name Raymulan means, well, Mulan is the Chinese name of my wife, Rachel, which is the same Mulan that you know of from the Walt Disney films. And Ray is actually the second name of Ania. So I named basically the name of the company is a combination of Ania's name and my wife's name. So Ray Mulan. So that's how that's the name. A little bit of trivia over there. So this is fantastic, because we were, in just 4 years that we have started, we were already ranked #1. The other award that we actually garnered, which I did show here, is the most improved developer. And it's the first time they awarded such an award, because previous to 2020 and 2019, we were only ranked #5, and so in 1 year's time we doubled our volume and reached #1. And just for your information, of the entire top 10 developers, we're the only one that has socialized housing. Those 450,000 pesos houses that I told you. The significance here is that we have to work double time, or even 4 times more, 5 times more than other developers. You see, other developers would probably be selling, 3 million peso condominium unit for the more rich, affluent market. And for us to be able to match that kind of business at 500,000 pesos, we have to work, 5 or 6 times more just to match that same revenue. And so we were able to hit #1 by precisely doing double the work. Just to let you know, we ended up at #1 by providing 5,000 houses Number two that came after us only sold 2,500 houses. So we worked double just to get to be number one. And so Pag-ibig gave us actually the next slide, which is the more important award that we got, which is the most number of members served. Because the 5,000, if you can see the line there in yellow, the 5,035 homeful families that were awarded houses during the worst year in the world in modern history is the highest number also of houses ever delivered, provided by a single developer in a single year. And Pag-ibig has a 40-year history, and the first time that this number of 5,000 was met was came from us, and at the worst possible time. So it just shows you that social business works. It doesn't have to be something that has to be that has uh, to be filled with sacrifices or uh, or very low profits, or in our case, to be quite honest with you, we all had fun doing this. We really felt very fulfilled doing all of this. So that's the award. And so this is just a picture to show you the faces, some of the faces of the families that we have served. So everybody, every time we ask for a photo, everybody's very game to just pose. And I suppose in the Philippines, every time you go around with a camera and sort of point it to people, everybody will just be very generous to offer their radiant smile to you. And that's the Filipino hospitality and the Filipino friendship. All right. Um, so so this is just a summary of to show you that our Joy Nostalgia is a social business that missions ourselves with our Christian values to spark joy moreover and solve poverty and homelessness in the Philippines. So spark joy moreover is now our purpose. It's the three-word line that shows our purpose. And the right screen shows you our insignia, our emblem that tells the story of our company. So you'd probably see the lion that represents the fierce passion that we have to have in getting this mission done. And on the right side, you have the lamb that signifies the gentleness of our compassion. So you have the fierce passion, at the same time a gentle compassion towards our beneficiaries. And so you have on the left hand, you also get to see our Latin motto, Luciat Lux et Ferviat Amor, which means is to shine our light and to radiate our love. So there you go. So some insights from me. Well, as I have said, I truly feel happy and blessed living a very meaningful and fulfilling life. I'm able to have a business to support my family, but at the same time, I'm able to significantly be of help to poor families to transform their lives from homeless poverty to having their own home, and more importantly, restoring their dignity and rekindling their sense of hope. So I believe this is not only my mission, but my family's life mission as well, as our loving response to society and humanity, and allows me to be a man for others, and hopefully my family to be a family for others. And for you, I hope that this is something that you can interest yourselves with, that try to set a goal much higher than your own, and one that helps others with your talents. Have a compassionate heart for others, especially the poor. And that is what love really is all about. So some key takeaways perhaps for you is that the truth of it is that no one is too small to make a difference. We're a small company. We're a startup company for just 4 years, and yet we've reached number one. So no one is too small to make a difference. No one is too small to change the world. No one is too small to achieve greatness. Never be afraid of being small, except when being small means that you are having a very small sense of passion and purpose. Then there, I think you'd be afraid, because then you'd probably find yourself getting lost later on. It's all number one, but it should be number 1, 2, and 3. Maybe it's all one because they're all important. The second takeaway is that, you know what? The bigger the problem, the bigger the solution, and guess what? The bigger the opportunity. So pursue a career in solving a social problem and impacting not only profits, but to benefit more for all people and our planet. And lastly, find that love for you to love and live it with a purposeful heart. So with that, I come to a close, and I invite all of you to spark joy moreover. It's another created word, more and forever. Okay, and so I end you with this slide with our company logo, and something that I would always tell our people and our organization: it is not impossible with love and light.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect timing, Mr. Nang. You were so inspirational. Thank you so much. I know that we probably have 10,000 questions for you, but unfortunately we've run over. I did send Ania a private message, and I'd like, if possible, after my 11 o'clock meeting, the meeting that I have with her right now, if I could have a few minutes of your time afterwards, and talk to you about something I think that would benefit you. So for everybody else.
Well, if you don't mind,
Yes.
I actually get to see some of this. There's 4 questions I see here. I think I can answer them very quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
So are we being financed by government? No, we have no government financing. Our financing is coming from very regular commercial banks and our company equity. The second is that, are these houses are these houses, where's that? Concrete blocks? Yes. Concrete. In fact, some of them are 100% concrete with steel structure. It's nothing. It's actually, and that's the reason why the value is so great. It's so high. Everything is within the right standards of government, and even much better than what others are actually doing. So what's the secret ingredient? Essentially, the secret ingredient is my daughter, Ania. No, but seriously, the secret ingredient really is about efficiency. And this is where business comes in. And for those of you who are in operations management, this is where it comes in. Supply chain management, the key is all efficiency. The key is to get rid of all the fats in the organization and lower your cost on what is only truly necessary.
Right.
And that's the reason why the answer is very simple. It's an honest to goodness business management. And that's the reason why business is important. It's not enough to have a good heart. You actually have to have a good mind to combine with it. And so hence social business. And last question is, can you tell us more about the experience of social entrepreneur, challenges you face, success, failures, encourage someone to start? Well, I'll tell you one simple story to answer this question, right? I actually attended a conference. It's by the League of Corporate Foundation. And essentially, they are advocating for companies to be involved in corporate social responsibility. And so they had me do a talk similar to this. And after I spoke, the moderator was asking me a question and was asking and saying, so he was actually leading me on to an answer that he wanted. And he wanted to say, so don't you think corporate social responsibility is actually a something good to do? It doesn't have so much risk, right? And of course, he wanted me to say yes, so that then everybody in the audience would say, yeah, go ahead, let's do it. Be encouraged to get into social responsibility. But truth be told, I actually answered the opposite. And I said, you know what? It's actually challenging. Why? Why is it difficult? Because my entire business is corporate social responsibility. I did not compartmentalize CSR to some department. You know, it's not like as if everybody's all out there, you know, 1000% capitalistic, and then, oh, by the way, just to help with our conscience, we have a CSR department that takes care of, you know, donating stuff, planting trees, and all whatsoever. In our case, the entire company is involved with this corporate social responsibility. So is it tough? Yes, it's tough because it actually needs somebody. It needs people to be both. We all need to be, you know, people with heart, but at the same time, people with mind at the same time. And so, are we profitable? Yes, of course, we're profitable. Otherwise, we would not be having this talk. I would have run out of a business. And in fact, that's the reason why we have to be a business, precisely for us to be profitable. Because it is in being profitable that then the business gets to be sustainable. Then it gets to go on and on and on. So that then we can keep on going on and helping more and more and more families. And so that's the reason why I advocate social business, because it is one sure way of sustainably solving a problem. And there is no one element in our organization that relies on somebody to donate something. So if there is any charity that is going around in our company, it's the charity of the heart. Other than that, there is no subsidy, no government subsidy, no donation that we are asking for. No government support, no government money whatsoever. So it's very much a private enterprise, and but addressing a societal problem, a societal issue. So I hope I was able to address all those 4 questions. Those are excellent questions, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ng. If Mr. Ng, if you could stay on, Rafael, if you could please start the next meeting, I'll join you guys shortly. And everybody else out there in the Zoom world, thank you so much for joining us in today's presentation. Everybody give a clap for Mr. Ng. He was amazing. Coaches, I'll see you in a few minutes. I'm going to stay on with Mr. Ng and talk to him really quick. And for those of you guys in the Zoom world, thank you so much. And we hope to see you next week for our next event. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.